Hey there everyone, I have exciting things for you in this video. Not only do I have a princess sticker on my sweater from my 2-year-old daughter, but I also have some pretty darn important technicals to show you for, well, we'll just say the Qs. We also want to take a look at the SPY IWM, but then in Bitcoin, massively important. Same thing for Nvidia, Palantir, SoFi, and I'll even get an update on bigbear.ai. I'm going to keep that going for you in this video. So guys, you can check the technicals over at the Discord, including for the Qs. I put out my daily technicals that I have for the intraday trading side of things, and I'll show you how that went today. After I put out those technicals this morning, you'll see what they look like, and they are in an unchanged state. So we'll see what happened with that price action around them to keep on building up that credibility for you here on YouTube, that they really are technicals that really do just keep on performing. So this nice little W shape that we have, this is great. The fact that we came down to the 5 EMA and saw some buying pressure came off of that, also great. Today, I don't know if you noticed, but we actually got the highest close on record for the Qs today. The closing price today, 580.51. Over here was the previous high close, and that was at 580.34. So we got a few cents extra out of that. Now we have not taken on the all-time high, but that could be next. And we have the inflation reports coming our way, PPI, CPI. If they come in as expected or soft, that's going to be absolutely incredible for the markets. They'll probably go bonkers. We'll probably see some new all-time highs come along with it. That helps us out in that case for easy monetary policy. It takes pressure off of the Fed to go ahead and be more confident that it's time to cut those rates and bring that down. And that also could help out the labor market stabilize as well, which means soft landing in the market will absolutely find that juicy. So let's pop this up here, and then we'll take a look at the 5-minute chart, because then you'll see this mess pop up, but we're going to stretch it out. There we go. We'll stretch out a little bit more, because what you see on here with all these lines, these are support and resistance. And what you can see with this is that you can see the way the price action happened, that we had that free rise movement up to about where resistance was found, and then it came up off this, hit the trend line here, and then that's where we got that big sell in there, along with the other technicals that we've on here, such as the VWAP, the moving averages, but the lines themselves are the ones that I produced. And what you can see is that we found that big fat area of support down here, where once you started to get that indication that things were about to turn around, and you watch this price, especially on this candle, start to pop up around. Now, mind you, there's some things going against it. Not the perfect trade, but it wouldn't be a bad time to ride some of that up. Got that rejection off of VWAP. My favorite time is actually when we, right here, after we finally popped up cleanly up above VWAP, the volume weighted average price. That is the moment. That is the time. I'll stretch that out. We'll take down the EMAs so you can see a little bit more. That touch right there, the fact that we traded off of it, was absolutely perfect, and that led us to that run that we had. Now, mind you, it did have some resistance to the north, and when this candle closed, it actually closed slightly below it. The next candle was above it, and then we couldn't break through it as support for us. That ended up being very critical. Finding more resistance right up here, and now, mind you, you can also see that we have that confluence of all those pivots, and there's even a trend line in there, if you can believe it. Let me actually do this for you, and I'll show you that trend line a little bit more cleanly. It's one of these two. There we go. The fact that we went up above this at the end of the market day is huge, because that's made from these previous peaks that we had. Yeah, we got a big fat rejection off it initially, but now we're trading back up above that. The market is really looking for some soft numbers to come out tomorrow, and so that'd be great for us to watch that come out. So 581.23, it really wants to put in that new all-time high. It's chasing it. I said before, the general direction is up, and that's about what we're seeing for now. So those technicals, by the way, those day trading technicals, I put those over at the Discord, so you can go ahead and look at the things that I'm looking at. And because we're a community over there, if you want to ask how it gets set up, I can totally walk you through setting up those technicals, so that way you can set them up for yourself, not only for the Qs, but the SPY, and really anything else that it would be that you would want to trade. That could really work out for you very handsomely as well. So I'm just one of the panel experts over there. You guys could come on over and join us over at the SPY here. What we got going on there? Again, once again, you see support at the 5 EMA, that green line coming up, really chasing down that new all-time high. Just absolutely enormously hungry for a new all-time high for SPY. As we look at this one, we are back in, once again, a rising wedge pattern. And look at the technicals that I have on here between the previous pivots that we have, and then also just trying to really chase down that peak. We got the highest close on record for SPY, and man, I have some other lines on here too to share with you. I can put those up there. You can see the sort of resistance we find ourselves in. Once we get above 653, there's not a lot up here. This could be a very big free rise area. It could make for a very, very big September to remember. It could make for a very bright Q4 as well. We're going to have to watch and see. It depends on a lot of things. Those inflation reports are absolutely huge. All right, let's get into the meat and taters after IWM and Bitcoin and everything. So IWM also sort of in a rising wedge pattern, sweating that inflation report a little bit more than the bigger cap companies that are out there. But good numbers tomorrow, and Thursday could be the thing that catalyzes these markets and finally shows us that 248 price tag that I have from the inverse head and shoulders, which is all the way down here, down below this yellow line that you see coming across here. That was also our neckline. Broke up above that, retested it, and man, the rest was history. After we bottomed out around 212, we made that $24 climb or so to get back up to where we're at right now, with potentially another $12 to go to that 248 based off the inverse head and shoulders. So Bitcoin, what's it doing? We got rejected again off the 50 EMA. And I think that we're probably going to hang out for a little bit until we find out what those inflation reports have to say. It could still soften to 110 or so. I don't know that we're going to find any drastic drops unless something else changes besides those inflation reports. If there's other catalysts out there that could make it drop, such as an extreme lack of liquidity event or something like that. In any case, right now looking somewhat on the bear side of things, but that's the near term because overall there's that 200 EMA creeping up here. There's the 200 SMA. We're above both of those, so longer term wise, we're still looking like we're in bullish territory for Bitcoin. So let's go over to Nvidia, some of the excitement there. For Nvidia, I talked about this area of support that we found ourselves in. Now, mind you, I color-coded it as resistance because, man, we're stuck in it right now. We actually traded down below it. But if we can get on top of it, I can call it support again. We are finding support on top of the 50 EMA. We even closed up above the 5 EMA as well. That was at 170.39 and we closed at 170.76. And in the post-market hours here, we're sitting at 174. Nvidia absolutely wants to launch off this point. I said that 50 could be that place where you see that turnaround. And if we look back here to the cues, we can see what happens when we touch a 50 EMA when we're not used to touching that 50 EMA, when we're used to being above it. We get rocket ships off of that. And for Nvidia, we could be setting up for that rocket ship moment coming off of that 50 EMA, especially if we can get back above the 5 and the 13. This could be that rapid softening followed by the next run for this thing. So stay up above the 50. We should be in good shape, especially if we can recapture the 5 and the 13 that are on here. Post-market hours looking pretty at the moment. Palantir, check this out as well. More good news. I talked about this consolidation pattern that we had. Low volume. The volume was not incredible today, but we could have incredible volume tomorrow. So closing up above 162.05 is going to be a great thing. That's about where we find the top of this resistance area that's up here. And it's a very narrow resistance area. So sitting on top of that should allow us to pretty easily get up to 166. Sitting on top of 166 opens us up all the way up to about 185. So that could be a huge run coming for us for Palantir. And let's just drop down to the 4-hour chart so we can see it some more. Mind you, these technicals also shared over at the Discord. So like I said, you can come on over, see what I have, see what everyone else has. There's the consolidation pattern, the symmetric triangle pattern that we found ourselves narrowing in. Said big fat area of support down here, and every time that we touched it, and that was even before we came down and touched it here, I said watch for this. We ended up finding that support, and now we also have trendline support in there. We had trendline resistance. We broke up above it today in the morning. Now we're starting to sit on top of that first part of that resistance area in the after hours here, up above that 162.05, pushing that 163. Keep your eyes on Palantir. SoFi has tried out breaking this 26.15. I brought this down 10 cents to go along with the highest close that I'm pretty sure that it's ever had. And that goes all the way back here. Was that where we got that high close coming in? And that happened to be right about this 4 o'clock hour or so. As a matter of fact, we can just go to daily chart and we can take a look at that close. It happened to be $26.15. So going back to the 4-hour chart here, if we can get up above this trend line and if we can get up above that 26.15, we have some resistance that's up here at 26.61. And then we have a nice free ride up above that up to about 28.26. Technicals, once again, shared over at the Discord here for you on YouTube, where you can go ahead and check that out. We are pretty flat across the top of this thing. We tried to push down out of this area, couldn't quite get there. So it is an area where we're resisting and just sort of trading sideways, chopping sideways. I really think that we're very close to finding out the answer if we're going to break out the top or the bottom of this. And I think that tomorrow could be a very good day, especially if we can overcome these two little tweezers that we have here that might say, now my green than red would be a little bit different, red than green here in this sort of situation. We have buyers coming back in and putting that pressure into it. Getting up above this trend line is going to be absolutely huge for us, absolutely massive. And then absolutely need to sit on top of 26.15 to really get that next leg up going. Hopefully it doesn't get cut short at 26.61. And then finally, Big Bear AI, what's going on with it? Continues to look bearish, more pressure coming from the bears, taking ground off of the bulls, really trying to put pressure falling out of this area of support. And then down here, this low price that we peaked at is 473, matching identically with what I have for this number right here, this Fibonacci extension level, where you have that one at $4.73. If we push down below that, we could take that ride down to 456. There's even a 200 SMA we should take a look at. That's 456 as well. Oh my gosh. So if we take that tumble out of there, we could watch for that. We're still above support at this time. So it is possible that this support holds, but if it does not, there's some just big, fat, and juicy support that happens to be down here in the low fours. We should be watching for that. That could be that area where we really start to find that accumulation come in, and we're just not seeing signs of it so far. We have this slow drift off of the prices as people lose interest over time. I don't think we've hit that peak fear moment, and we certainly haven't hit a momentum event, if you will, where we actually take off like a rocket ship with some big fat news coming out of it. Usually, if people suspect that there's some news, maybe there's some inside knowledge of it, even though it doesn't necessarily get snuffed out as insider trading, that we watch for either some sort of build of that volume before we get the big volume pop before the news, usually a day or two before. We can also watch for a quick shake down where people try to shake people out of their trades, get a cheaper price, and then that rocket ship moves from there. In any case, if we break the support, we'll probably push down a little bit harder, a little bit quicker. So watch for that. If this support holds, and especially if we get a catalyzing event to the upside, it's probably going to last for several days. Again, market bias going with it. So assuming that the market bias stays a bullish one, that the inflation reports come off either as expected or softer than expected, that we get lower numbers for inflation. And then it's like, Fed, what are you waiting for? The labor market is getting softer all the time. Inflation isn't really the problem that we thought it was going to be. Like, why are you still holding up at these numbers that you called restrictive? So we think that the Fed's going to cut 25, maybe 50 basis points coming up here in September. I think next week is that time that we see that take place. I'm going to have to check the date specifically. I just can't remember off the top of my head at this point in time, but it is coming up soon here in September that we get that Fed meeting. And that's going to be a huge moment with lots of volatility as we get near the numbers being released, and then also Jerome Powell coming out and talking. That'll be at 2 o'clock Eastern time and then 2:30 Eastern time, respectively, for those two things. September 19th sticks in my head, but I don't want to put that out there because I'll look it up here for you right now. So CME Fed Watch, by the way, if you want to see what is expected from the markets in terms of those cuts. So right now, about a 92% chance as of this recording that we get a 25 basis point cut, and that there's an 8.3% chance as of the time of this recording that we get a 50 basis point cut, which is not a small chance. If we're talking just in terms of statistics, that's statistically significant. That would not be unusual based on that percentage. Anything, and it depends on what you're looking at. Below 5% could be considered unusual. Below 2.5%, some people would even say it's that 0.15 if we're talking in terms of standard deviations, and we're talking about 3 standard deviations. Now, mind you, this is not normally distributed data for something that's near. But anyway, that gets into too much math talk, too much jargon. Let me just say, I still think that for the markets, the general direction is up. We have not seen evidence that it's time to turn around yet. Now, we might have reasons to be cautious. We might have reasons to be watchful. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Why I'm telling you about the market bias and why I'm talking about it so much is that those reasons to be cautious and watchful are there. So for me, not going mega bull because we're not at some sort of bottom ready for that ride up. Instead, we're at the top expecting some sort of continuation to likely happen. And I think that's a really nice way to phrase it. So Nvidia might see itself find some support, especially if those inflation reports, PPI, if that's soft, and if CPI is also soft these next 2 days, I think that we're going to see a really healthy move with some release of downward pressure. And depending on what numbers we get, maybe we even turn that into some upward pressure and push the markets up some more from where they're at right now. And then while we're off to look for more catalysts after that to see what shapes up in the technicals and then what's coming up on the horizon as well that could possibly cause us to change direction or keep going in that direction. Palantir, super excited about it, especially finally finally seeing the top of that range trade that it was in being broken, breaking that symmetric triangle pattern. This should be very bullish for them as long as it doesn't get tamped down by the market. And then same thing for SoFi. I would say that we're finally starting to see maybe that breakout moment, getting above that trend line, getting above those prices that I talked about. We could see a lot of green coming our way. I'm very excited about it. And I already gave you my concerns. I already said, there's that potential. We get higher than expected numbers for inflation. If they surprise strongly to the upside, there's our negative catalyst. There's that thing that pushes us back down. And it's probably, if they're very, very high, then that would be that fly swatting moment. Sorry if that was very loud. That'd be that swatting moment where the market would probably shake things out pretty darn hard. So that's really the only scenario, at least I think, in the next two days where we talk strictly about what we can expect to happen, where we'd actually have some sort of red come out of it. So guys, thank you very much for watching. Come on over and join us over at the Discord. We'd absolutely love to have you over there. And then if you guys want to learn the technical analysis like you see here, you want to learn how to trade using those technicals, such as with the bread recipe, like I use it with my zero DTE trading when I use options. By the way, there's also an options course through Stockmo Academy. Down in the description, code word doctor also works on that as well. I get a $400 discount. And if you bundle the two courses together, you get a bundle discount on top of it as well, bringing even more value to it. And as an educator with my doctorate in education, I can tell you that those courses are they are solid, they are tight. The information is absolutely the best quality that you're going to find. So guys, I'm going to let you go. Have a great day. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you next video.